So this is done. We just got to order the metal and put the metal on there. So this little span right here is about 34.5 feet to the end. And we got a mix of species in here. We got a loblolly pine, we got pitch pine, and there is a red oak. And mostly it's loblolly though. Cut down one that was kind of dead, and that lumber was okay. But we did some things like to strengthen it up, to double up every so many feet on the top. Some bracing there with red oak. And there was the red oak. Cut that down with a steel 311. And it was so terrible at the job, I ended up getting a steel 500. And that was where that pitch pine came from. And I think there's a little bit of white pine in here. We'll cut all this up with a Wood-Mizer LT35. Of course, the posts are treated posts. That was a white pine we included in the build. And a dead white pine. And this span is 42.5 feet. You can see what we did there to make the two sides join. All right. Those were doubled up 2x6s. And of course, we were trying to save costs on hardware. So instead of brackets, we put those little wooden cleats underneath to hold the roof, help hold the roof up. We spaced these on 20. Might should have done 16. It'd have been easier to walk on while we were putting them in for sure. Those are doubled up 2x6s there on the end. And then we had a telephone pole that they pulled out of my yard about 6 or 8 months ago. It had been in the ground since 1976. And that's why they replaced it, but honestly, it was still in pretty good shape, if we're being honest. So we cut that up and reused that as 3 posts. Got a little bit left, a little piece there. It's a little shorter on this end just because of the grade of the ground. But there used to be a shed on this back side, and a snowstorm pulled it off a couple of years ago. Just weighted it down and broke it. It was kind of shantily built by the previous owner of the property, but it did last a while. But we went back super big this time. Can't never have enough storage. You can see where we doubled up there. A lot of the doubles we did ended up being red oak to go with that pine, to strengthen it up quite a bit. Of course, we were trying to get out of this build as cheap as possible on the lumber, so we reused some treated stuff that I had. Had 3-inch screws for most everything except for the, can't think what you call those at the moment, but we put those down with 2-inch screws. Well, there's quite a few screws in here. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. But quite a few feet of board feet of lumber in this build. But I think it turned out okay. Plan to build some shelving along this wall to get things out of this building, get my wife's stuff out of this building, primarily decorations, Christmas, etc. Like I said, they could have maybe done some things different, but this is what we did. You can see where we lag bolted it into the building too, every so many feet. It was strong enough to hold me, and I'm near 300 pounds. And I was climbing across it okay. It was doing okay. So hopefully that'll stand up to the next big snow. Not a lot of slope on it, but I didn't want a lot of slope. I wanted as much roof space as possible. So I can pull a tractor in here, and it's tall enough for that. This is not tall enough for that, but it's tall enough for, side-by-sides, ATVs, motorcycles, etc. And that's where that stuff will go. I have 2 motorcycles and an ATV that's going to come out here and come under this when it's done, get it out of the building. The building is, I believe, a 30-foot by 24 is what the building is. And as they say, you can't ever have enough building. But this is something we worked on. I think it turned out okay. We'll see. First big snow may drag it down, but I somehow doubt it. This is built a lot more sturdily than the last one. I still got a few more trees in here I had to cut down and pull out. That was ate up by pine beetles. And of course that thing there, we'll have to put it down. Pine beetles. I may end up having to get those two. Kind of damaged the roots a little bit when we dug that waterway for the water to come around this. We'll see though. I'm gonna keep an eye on them, try to leave them for now. It's got a pretty bad lean back towards the building. That one's leaning away on the right, so pretty sure I can drop that one down, and if I have to, I can make that thing turn. It's bone heavy on the left side, but I think it'll wedge over if we needed it to, so I'm just gonna keep an eye on it. All right, we'll call that a video.